precision. But do you really know where you're losing time? Your braking, throttle control, and racing line. Every detail matters. But without the right data, you're just guessing. This is where RACEDATA gives you the edge. Instantly analyze your lap data, see exactly where you're losing time, and make real improvements. Know your weaknesses, fix them, get faster. Stop guessing, start improving. Try RACEDATA today.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the RACEDATA AI ARL Prototype Championship here for round number 6 of the season. Of course, still another 4 rounds to go here in this championship. And of course, we head our way to Road America, a very exciting track indeed. And alongside me in the commentary box will be Sam Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this will be a very good round of the championship. We're into the second half of the season now. And yeah, before we continue too much longer, let's have a look at our championship points then going into this round of the season. And of course, it's been so far pretty good news for Norbert Tamas. He's got the championship lead. It was a strong performance for him last time out, and he's about 29 points ahead of Antonino Segro. And with Tamas scoring all podiums so far this season, he is looking pretty tough to beat. In the GTP AMS, we have Julian Retzi leading the way.
Indeed, on 162 points, and then of course we have Christian. Can you get this name for me? Because I don't want to mess it up.
It didn't go. We didn't last long. I thought we'd get to the grids before we'd have pronunciation difficulties.
Listen, I want to get it right now, so then when we do get to the grid, at least I'm going to have some more knowledge and I'm not going to butcher it at the start. But yeah, there we go. Christian Maltrek in second place, and then of course Paul Crawford in third, also on 152 points. So very close between our top 3 in the GTP AMS. And then we'll have a look at the LMP2 Pros as well, where of course it will be Matthew Crisp that leads the way there on 179 points, and then Aston will be 1 point back on 178, and then Benjamin Fragiero on 170, 8 points back from him, so still very close up there as well. And then in our LMP2 AMS, we can see it will be Lucas Diaz, who's at the top with also 179 points, with John Williams in second on 175, and then around 13 points back from our top, it will be Nick Mercer on 166.
And in the Teams Championship, we have Manatee Racing leading the way in the GTPs, which look fairly tricky to beat. Obviously, Absolute Motorsport, very strong team. Virtual Drivers by TX3 as well, all changing to the Cadillac as well. A lot of changes to the Cadillac for today, because the driver's got a free car change with the new iRacing GTP model. And in the LMP2s, it's still very close. Effect Simulations Club Sport, which ought to really be the B team, ahead of the Effect Simulations normal team, ahead of Team Husenfeld and Alcantech NHR. But yeah, could still all change around in that category, as we should get images now of the circuit in just a moment, and yeah, how our current qualifying is going.
Indeed, as we will of course certainly head our way into the qualifying session very shortly, and of course we can see that we have 20-minute qualifying. The first 10 minutes are for the LMP2s, and then the final 10 minutes are for the GTPs. And of course we can see at the moment it will be Fragiero that leads with a 153.722, with Siegman in second, and then Halfidassen in third, only a 10th separating our top 3 in the LMP2 Pros. And then in the AMS we will have Diaz, Grassetto, Williams and Mercer, our top 4. But as of course we see our Pros and AMS from the LMP2s, we also have our GTPs setting their times as well, and it will be Norbert Tamas that goes to the top currently with a 152.125.
Yeah, looking very good is Tamas, albeit we do sometimes see some improvements later on in the session for those drivers. So we'll see if they can muster up any improvements themselves. But yeah, Tamas currently at the head. But yeah, that will of course get much closer. Clearly a non-representative lap being set by Nucera and Co in these early stages. And of course, yeah, Frigerio, top of the drivers in the LMP2s, and just ahead of Siegmund. They got involved in a little bit of a battle last time out, along with Simon Graf as well, the three of them battling for the race win. And Diaz as well, top of the LMP2 AM standings. The LMP2s are all done, but still plenty to play for in the GTPs.
Definitely, and of course, a good evening to everybody in the chat. Of course, you haven't heard my name on this broadcast before. I'm quite new to the ARL Prototype Championship, and of course, I've got to say, from what I've seen so far with the standings and some of the times on the board, things are certainly looking very close. So I think we've got a really good championship and a really good race to look forward to, as we do see some more times popping up on the board, and some drivers with their times being rather off of the top. They're probably looking to do a couple more installation laps and get their time ready to go for a representative run. Of course, it will be Julian Ratti at the top for the GTP AMS, and then Hugo Preto in second place for the GT AMS, just a few seconds off, as we do see Segro go up into P2 as well for the GT Pros. A very nice lap there. Of course, it will be Norbert Tamash still at the top. Of course, a driver who leads the championship by 29 points here in the GTP. So certainly the driver to beat here tonight.
Yeah, and this man, Blaszczykowski, has had a great time of it. He was looking like he would maybe be the strongest contender this season, but got very unlucky back last time at Sebring, so ended his championship hopes. Also had a crash at the very wet Portimao round, which was one of the wettest races I think I've ever broadcasted on, and one of the absolute most treacherous. It looked so tricky. Anyone who's experienced that combination of Portimao or Algarve in the wet will know how tricky it is in these cars, and it really was on that day. So yeah, it was a tough time for the drivers, but yeah, Tamas, after all of that, really far ahead in the championship. But yeah, Segro second place in the championship, second place in the standings at the moment. But once again, I think all the drivers just try and get their tyres up to temperature. It's such a different game nowadays, Nathan, with these new tyre model, that it really does take, you know, even a long trek like this, 3 or 4 laps to get the tyres into the window.
Yep, certainly. I mean, I've driven the GTPs a lot before the update. Since the update, I've driven them once and I thought, yeah, this is not for me. They became a lot more difficult to drive, and certainly, you know, for some drivers, they like it. Some drivers love a bit more of a car with a bit more twitchiness and, of course, a little bit more harder to prepare. Others, like me, who are only like 1.5 KR rating, don't like that. I want simple cars, so I've just gone back to my GT3s. But no, they are really good cars. Constantly love to see the improvements that iRacing are making to our GTPs, and of course the LMP2s as well. Also very interesting cars and nice cars to drive, just not for people like me who are bad. So yes, I will try and learn them one day, but for now I'll stick to easy cars, as we do see Benoit Favre there going up into P3 in the GTP Pros, and of course 5th overall there, as we do see Trotsky as well go up into P3 in the Pros, and of course 4th overall. So very close lap time so far, as Maltrek jumping up into P2 and making the GTP AMS the top 3, the same as top 3 in the championship.
That is very well spotted, and it's been very sort of mixed up as well, so that's quite a unique thing for the GTP AMS, for it to be sort of that uniform, honestly. But yeah, that is the situation that we're currently in. So ready to go back to the pits, but this man, Tomas, still trying to continue on. By the way, thanks to our sponsor for this series, RACEDATA AI. RACEDATA AI is a user-friendly telemetry tool that helps sim racers improve their performance. It provides clear and simple insights into driving data, making it easy to spot mistakes and areas for improvement and get faster on the track from day one. As the sponsor of the RACEDATA AI Prototype Championship, RACEDATA AI are very proud to sponsor the sim racing community and help drivers achieve their best. All drivers in this series got a free subscription to RACEDATA AI, and it is a really useful application, not just for iRacing, but also a set of course competitionio as well, if you want to use it on that in order to help you find a little bit more pace on the sim. This man needs no more pace though, frankly, otherwise the series would get a little bit dull. Tamas looking for another race win. He's currently on pole by quite a margin. Is he able to find any more time? He's got one more attempt to go if he's got the fuel for it. He decides to pull to the side of the track. And it wasn't an improvement, but that second lap, even though it wasn't his best, would still be good enough for pole. That's also good enough for pole. Segro to the top.
Indeed, a very nice lap time there, a 1:47.9. Our first driver into the 47s, and I think probably one of the only drivers to get into the 47s by the end of this one, as we do see as well Torotsky improving as well by a couple of tenths, as it will be Diogo Solipa going up into P3 there, just 2.5 tenths back from Segro at the top. Of course, a few more improvements coming through, as we do see Paul Crawford jumping up into second place in the GTP AMS, and then we do see here Oliver Pettersson currently in P8 at the moment, a few seconds off, has still got a little bit more time to set this lap, and we'll see what he can do as he's heading his way through in towards turn 9 and 10, and certainly could be looking to for a bit of a nice lap here in the GTP AM category.
Yeah, looking good for him at the moment. Few personal best sectors, in fact 4 personal best sectors. There are 6 sectors on this lap, and yeah, he is improving in pretty much every single one of them. Currently in 8th place in division, 15th place in his hard class is Petson. There are still others as well out on circuit, but he's going to be the one to cross the line next. We'll see if he can. I think he'll get ahead of Wilkins, honestly. It'll be a case of whether he can get past Jurette. On the few Acuras, a lot of drivers, I think 5 drivers switching from the Ferrari to the Cadillac for this round. Cadillac looking very strong this season as Pettersson does improve up into 7th.
Indeed, a very nice lap indeed there at 150.424. So I think that might have been Benoit Favre there, going up into P5 in the GTP Pros. 6th best time overall, just shy of a second off our top timer, 48.788. And I'm not sure if anybody else will be setting a lap here in this session. I think that might be all of our laps completed. Of course, the checkered flag is out before we head our way into the race. Giray now heading up to the line, P6 in class at the moment. Jumps up to second there, a couple tenths back from Julian Oretti in the GTP AMS. A very nice lap there from Ludovic Giray to also make it a 1-2 for the virtual drivers by TX3. And that certainly, Sam, is something they'll be looking forward to carrying further into the race.
Yeah, that's really strong lap times from them near the end of that session. A little bit disappointing for Nucera, maybe not to even get higher than 8th place despite that late improvement. Usually one of our front runners, usually a driver looking to get a race win, but he will struggle to get a race win from back there. Instead, it looks like it's going to be Segro on the pole position. We'll bring you through the grid in a little while, just once the iRacing takes over to the next session. But yeah, how do you think the lapping might be around this circuit? Because it is a longer one, which hopefully will give the drivers a bit more of a relief that we should only really have 2 passes through for the GTPs.
Yes, that should make it a little bit easier for them, of course. And I mean, I think the biggest issue for me with the track that is this long, of course, 1 minute and 48 in a GTP is, you know, it's quite a decent chunk. And then, of course, in the 50s as well for the LMP2s, is that first lap. Within the first few corners, you want to make sure you're not getting yourself involved into any incidents or, you know, getting damaged, because then you've got such a long run back to the pits before you can get yourself sorted out. But we'll have a look at the grid here for round 6 of the IRL RACEDATA II ARL Prototype Championship. It's going to be Antonio Segaro on pole position with Norbert Tamash in second place, Diogo Salipa in third with Balázs Torotsky in P4, and then leader for the GTP AMS will be Julian Reti, and then Ludovic Giray, of course, in P5 and P6. And then we have Benoit Favre and then Simone Nucera, our top 8. And then we'll see Richard Jepp in P9 with Paul Crawford in the top 10. And we have Christian Malcharak in P11, Zoltan Bedo in P12. And we have Ethan Marone, Oliver Pettersson, Nathaniel Wilkins, and then Hugo Presso, our top 16. And then we'll see Cesar Cabral. And then, of course, our leader for the LMP2 Pros is Benjamin Frigilio in P18. Then we have Fabian Siegman and Michael Halvidassen in the top 20. And then, of course, our leader for the LMP2 AMS will be Lucas Diaz. Then we have James Ebram, Fabio Grassetto, John Williams, our top 24. And then we will have Simon Graff, Nick Mercer, Aston Wilby, and Silas Craig Vrolik. So I'm hoping there, Sam, that I got most of the names correct. There'll definitely be some to work on, but a lot of names.
I'm genuinely impressed. I was going to say, even unprompted, that was a good job on that one, because yeah, maybe it's just the standard of our fellow commentators here at Apex Racing TV, but I was expecting worse. But no, that was very good. Yeah, we'll have a full formation lap for this race because of the difficulty of warming up the tyres nowadays that we saw. I want to give the drivers absolutely every opportunity. And usually I absolutely rant and rave by how annoying it is that we had to suffer through an entire pace lap around this circuit, but I think it's probably the wisest thing. But this is the longest pace lap we get, and of course a lot of series now or a lot of tracks now in iRacing don't really have the option of a long and short one. It's sort of just a middle one. I think Suzuka and Imola both sort of extending theirs slightly over recent times, which I think is probably the way to go. But yeah, this is a proper, arguably the most realistic way we can start the race.
Indeed. And I mean, you might be annoyed about having to watch a full formation lap here, but I was commentating an ACC championship a few weeks ago, and we had to do a full formation lap of the Nordschleife, which took us about 13 minutes.
When you say
it was not fun,
whose decision was that? Like, does the game not let you?
No, we had to. Well, the settings were set up, so someone had to do a full formation lap. As I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, someone fly off into the barrier and they're back in the pits. That'll be Benoit Favre, won't it? Let's see what happened there. I mean, proving that these cars are very difficult to warm the tyres up as someone's headed in the barriers. So we're on board here, the car on the right-hand side. Let's see what happens here then.
Oh, a hardware issue. Yeah, definitely a hardware issue.
Yeah, see the big shame, yeah. Oh, dear me. Well, that puts Favre to the back of the field pretty much, doesn't it? Which is certainly not what he would have wanted. As we see on the onboard view here, what happens? It's got to be a hardware issue, hasn't it, I think? Yes.
Yeah, like a screen
yeah, certainly.
Like that could literally be, because he started turning left as well, so I reckon that screen has just frozen for a few moments. And yeah, it has caused him big problems.
It has. A big shame there for Benoit. Something he would have not been hoping for tonight at all, especially on the formation lap here around Road America. Of course, we'll see all the cars shortly behind our Porsche safety car. Of course, Antonio Segro is on pole position and Norbert Hamash in second. So going to be very interesting to see what these two get up to. Remember, they are separated by 29 points in the championship, so a big race for both of these, especially for Segro if he wants to close that gap a little bit more. Of course, we have Richard Jepp in third on 170 points, but he starts all the way down in, I think, P9 in this race, so certainly not what he would have been hoping for either. As we head our way around turns 9 and 10, of course, Sam, you've been here, I think, pretty much every round so far this season. If you was looking at our top two right now, who would you be safely betting on to win the race, would you think? Because I don't have a clue. I'm as new to this as people that might be new in the chat.
Yeah, well, I think I'd probably go Antonino Segro. I think he's maybe got something to... I think his qualifying pace was very strong, and he deserves his pole position. I think maybe he's just got something to aim for as well. Tamas just needs solid results to the end of the season. If he can just finish on the podium at each of the rounds in the second half of the season, that should be enough. But Segro really needs to start winning in order to close out that championship gap. So I'd maybe give Segro the slight edge. In terms of the LMP2s, I think Benjamin Frigerio has been very strong once he's been out in the lead. He wasn't on pole position last time out, and he didn't win in the end, but he came very close to doing so. But back at Spa, he was totally dominant. So I then fear that, yeah, if he gets out in the lead, he might not be seen a whole lot.
Well, we'll have to see what he can do, but of course we are here now. Of course, all the cars stopping round as they're on their little formation lap and constantly braking, accelerating, and causing the timing tower to go absolutely mental at the moment. But of course, once we get started, all of that will clear up, and we'll get to see who's actually in what position, as we are just getting ready shortly to get onto our final couple of corners before we head underway. Of course, we can see the safety car there. We'll peel off into the pit lane, and here we are, round 6 of the RACEDATA ARL Prototype Championship is about to get underway here at Road America Let's see, the cars are working their way down the long back straight into turn 1, and we are green, green, green here. There's a brilliant start there from Antonio Segro, who continues to bring that lead gap even further to Norbert Tamash in second place. We can see Salipa as well under pressure into the first corner. That's a car straight into the barriers there. That'll be, I think, Ludovic Jouret. A big shame to see his race start off so poorly. It's another car as well. That'll be Paul Crawford also into the barriers. A very hectic start for our GTPs, and the LMP2s as well are getting underway. A good start there from Benjamin Frigerio in the lead here, ahead of Fabian Seguin in second place, and we can see as well some more battles happening further behind. But what a chaotic start here, Sam. Two of our top drivers from their classes drop down to the rear of the field now.
Yeah, it's so narrowed down into that turn 1, and the exit can be pretty precarious, as well as Ibram trying to get underneath half the dust, and half the dust is going to go on the outside. Oh, and there's a little bit of contact as well in the background. That's Nick Mercer, who started near the back anyway, gained maybe a couple of places, but has definitely lost them again. As these guys battle a lot, it's not going to be easy to overtake in the LMP2, so it's going to be important for these guys to make some moves in the early stages. And it looks like Ibram's done enough to hold on to P3. And the rest of them will all slot in behind. But yeah, it's a good start for Tamas out in the lead then.
Oh,
did we?
What's happened to Segro?
Yeah, what happened to Segro? Oh wow, you can see the damage there to Segro. We will try to get all these replays up fairly quick. But yeah, that was a really messy start for a lot of our drivers.
Indeed, well, that came as a surprise because the start for Segro was perfect. You know, flew off, and Tamash and all those behind, but you know, really started to lose out there. But of course, has had contact somewhere, I believe, with the barrier. I can't see it being another car. We'll try and see if we can get a replay of what happened to Segro as we head our way through. Now, what has happened here on the replay is possibly a bit of contact between himself and Tamash. Oh, yeah, is that a lock-up, wasn't it? Up in towards turn 6.
But how's he got the front damage? Oh, that's so unlucky that someone's just had a separate incident. I mean, probably should check the yellow flags. But my pick on Segro winning the race, that didn't last too long, did it? And that just shows how tricky it is on the cold tyres, even these very strong drivers not having it their own way.
And well, the commentary curse started before we even got to the end of lap 1, as we can see there, of course, Segro just heading into the pit lane. And we can see on our screens, of course, here, Benjamin Frigerio in the lead of the LMP2 pros, of course, parts of the Effect Simulations team. And in second place, we've got James Ibram doing a very good job here for the championship leaders in the teams, of course, Effect Simulations Club Sport. Here, as we do head our way through into the first part of the lap. And then, of course, we can see Fabian Siegman as well sitting in P3. And, of course, that being, well, Frigerio, Ibram and Siegman, both parts of our top 3 in the team standings. So big points here for them today, as we are seeing a replay here of what's happened. I think this was the overtake here by James Ibram ahead of Fabian Siegman here, up at the inside into towards turn 12. A very nice move, but I think with the way this track is designed, every move you make is a big risk, isn't it? Because the corners kind of fly at you almost, don't they?
Well, here comes another move. It looks like Siegman's really struggling on the colder tyres, and half the Darson tries to go the long way round. So not easy flat in these cars. I think it is just about flat through that corner, maybe a smaller, and just underneath as well. I think that's Grosseto passing Diaz, and that's for the lead in the LMP2 amateurs, albeit both of these guys are plenty good enough to fight with the pros, and they'll try to be getting up ahead of steam, but they are going to be side by side still, and they've got to try to figure out who's going to be ahead here going into the kink. And I think it's going to be wise for Diaz just to back out of this one, and I'm not sure if he did, but he certainly had to give way in the end. Grosseto up a place there.
Certainly a nice move, of course. Lots of battling here around Road America as we're on lap 2 now of the race. Of course, in our GTP Pros, it is Norbert Tamash that leads away ahead of Diogo Salipa in second, and then Balazs Tarowski in P3 for Maniti Racing. And then in our AMs, we have Julian Reti, who leads away, as we do see a replay of what happened down at turn number 1. I think this, of course, might be what happened to Paul Crawford, and lost it all by his own. Yeah. But then again, it's something we mentioned before, Sam. These cold tyres in both the GTPs and LMP2s, they are difficult, aren't they? So no surprise to see a few drivers losing it by themselves on this first lap. And of course, Segro and Crawford, certainly 2 of our quickest drivers in their classes.
Yeah, And yeah, Crawford is so experienced as well. Very level head is Paul, and very consistent driver. That's sort of what he's done very well so far this season. So yeah, of all the drivers to make a mistake, I'm really surprised that he was one of them who made a mistake. I'll try to get as well. Is this what happened? Is this what the other incident was on lap 1? Oh no, this is later on. Okay, I'll try to get that other incident. Sarah had a crash as well, but maybe this was involved.
Let's see. Was this the car that hit Segro, I think, at the top of the hill?
I mean, it'd be incredible if it is, because they are teammates. No, he just had to slow right down. That is how much mess there was. And then it was, yeah, the impact just behind. So
it was. Can't quite see what car it was that hit Segro, unfortunately. Here is Benmore again having another incident, so it seems like these hardware issues are still continuing to go on. But of course we can see here Norbert Samash in the lead now by just over a second to Salipa, and then of course Torotsky in third. A very nice start from our top 3, and then we can see with all the incidents that happened early on, we got Fava, Jep, Segro, all 30 seconds or more back from our leaders. So at the moment, as we still have around 55 minutes to go, our top 4 are realistically the only ones in the fight for a podium, which is very rare to say after only 3 and a little bit laps here. As we do see as well in our AM category, it's Retty that leads ahead of Maltrek and Marone in the top 3, and then of course Bedo and those below are more than 10 seconds back from our leader of the class. So things starting to gaps are starting to spread out, but not because of anything to do with pace, but more because of, I think, for many drivers, a lack of awareness on that first lap, and I think kind of not judging how cold those tyres were, and I think the track itself doesn't look the sunniest, so I don't think it's the warmest either.
Yeah, I should be able to get the weather conditions up. There they are. And yeah, 23 degrees track temperature. It is very overcast. There is actually a chance of rain today. 2% chance going into the session. I'm not sure what that stands at now, but
0.
Oh, 0. Okay. Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. Where, are you getting that from InSim or the graphic that I'm showing?
The graphic that you're showing, yeah.
Well, the graphic that I'm showing, that's what the percentage of rain right now, like in terms of how much rain there is now. But yeah, I'm not sure what the chances are later on. But yeah, I don't think it's going to rain at least. And yeah, I mean, I'm just scarred from Algarve like that. I'll talk about that race for a while, because I don't know how well you know the circuit, but the downhill hairpin at turn 4, just everyone went off there. Imagine Nürburgring 07 in the Formula 1, where there's like a parking lot. It was basically that. I mean, very similar corner. It's a hairpin downhill, and just you lock a brake and you're hitting the wall. I mean, it was really, really treacherous.
I'll have to give that one a watch, though. I do know Portimao very well. A track I love to commentate over, but not a track I like to drive.
Sure.
So yes, I'll give that race a look back, and I'll see what happened at the end of turn 4, because I can just imagine wet weather, these cars and braking, it just something doesn't click, does it? So I'm not surprised we had a car park then at the exit of the hairpin. But of course we can see here James Ibram under a bit of pressure here from Fabian Siegmann, who actually had a bit of a poor start, dropped back a position, nearly dropped back 2, but now he's looking to try and jump back up into second place, with Frigerio in the lead now by just over 1.8 seconds, doing a great job out front here for our LMP2 pros. And then in the AM category, we also see Diaz on the back of Grassetto. So we'll see how that battle shapes up. And I've got to say, surprisingly, the LMP2 AM category is actually the closest one, pretty much, I think, here.
Yeah, I think it is at the moment. Yeah, the GTPs. Oh, look at that move. Can he get it stopped?
Bit too deep, wasn't it, there?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best comeback from Ibram. Ibram sort of got sucked into that late braking as well, and it almost meant that he wasn't able to get back underneath. The two of them losing each other a second just with that little movement there. And yeah, they go back to their original positions. But yeah, Siegmann's feeling pretty desperate. I mean, in other cars, if this was maybe GT3s, so you'd maybe go, well, maybe just stick behind the other driver and save some fuel. In these LMP2s, the draft effect is so minimal that you're not going to save that much fuel by sitting behind. So Siegmann wants to win this race, and he can see Frigerio getting further and further away right now.
Certainly, and you know, the more they battle, the more that gap will continue to increase. We do see as well Michael Halfidason as well in P4 looking to close in on Siegmann and Ibram as well as they head their way into turn 12. course, of the right-hander, and then a couple more corners to go. We'll see what these guys can get up to. Through turn 13, of course, up a bit of a hill, into a bit of a blind apex, then into the final corner, pretty much like a roller coaster in this final sector, and that's going to be a send by Sigma. That's going to be contact, and nearly those two ending off into the gravel. And now this gives a chance for Halvidason as well to jump up another position to get past James Ebram and jump up into third in class as we head our way down to turn 1. Could it possibly be P2 for Halvidason? No, stays in third frame. Segment doing a very good job, a little bit aggressive, but it's worked and it's got him that P2 spot as we head our way through. And still, Ebram trying to get back into third place, and a big shame there for James, because I think bit unfair of a move by Siegward, and that's now dropped him down to P4, but we'll see what he can do as this race continues on. Looking further back as well, we do see Grosseto. We started slowly, pull away a little bit there from Lucas Diaz.
Yeah, we've got some GTPs in amongst these drivers, but these aren't the race leaders. These are just drivers who are out of position. So Antonio Sigo is actually behind these guys after his misdemeanors at the start of the race. Starts on pole, of course, was my pick for the race win, and unfortunately spun by himself in the early stage, and then, well, unlucky when another driver hit him. The pace difference, of course, between the GTPs and the LMPDs isn't nearly as much as it used to be. It is larger than it was a couple of seasons ago, but last season it was probably around a circuit like this, 7-8 seconds. But nowadays it is much smaller. We've got a fastest lap of 49 in the GTPs and a 55 in the LMP2, so about 5 or 6 seconds. So yeah, somewhere in the middle between where it used to be and where it was last season.
Yeah, definitely. The gap's certainly changing quite a lot, but of course that's just iRacing trying to get the most realistic view of what what the gap should be, how quick the car should be. Of course, there's been lots of chopping and changing in the past couple of months for these two cars. As we do see here, Simone Nicera in P4 at the moment, so about 10 seconds back off the lead. Has got someone behind him, and I think that might be Ethan Marone, if I'm correct there. Yes, third in the GTP AMP category. And obviously, looking at this so far, we do see there's a few AMs in mix with the pros. Is this something that will kind of happen more and more as this race continues on?
Yeah, well, certainly Nicera's in amongst the AMs at the moment after his problems earlier on. We saw a little bit of his... well, I think he basically had a poor qualifying and then had to stop, so he's making his way through the AMs, but he'll be hoping that he can get sort of a boring P4, which I think is sort of what he got last time as well at Sebring. I think it may have even been a boring P3 where he started from the back on that occasion and had to make his way up the order, as we might have a swatch here between Graf. No, he's going to lose a place. He's lost out. He tried on Grosseto, sorry. And he's lost out to Diaz and all that. Simon Graf, who was so impressive. Team Husingfeld last time at Sebring, incredibly strong. Of course, Siegmund's usually near the front, but Simon Graf was right there, and the two of them were 1-2 out in the leads for most of the race. Graf maybe not quite feeling so comfortable around this circuit, but of course it is a bit weird when you go to those circuits during a special event, because I imagine Graf had probably done dozens of hours of practice at Sebring, and that really enabled him to perform at his best. But today, it's a little bit more of a return to reality.
Yeah, certainly. But I think this track as well, it's not an easy track. It might look it, but it certainly isn't. And that's certainly, we can see playing on the drivers' minds and their skills at the moment. We do see here, Rogerio, who is that defending from? Because the guy behind him on my screen is a minute back, so that can't be it, can it?
Yeah, Segro is unlapping him. Well, not unlapping himself, but the last LMP2 now that he needs to pass the US. So he's now clear, and he can now go chase after the GTPs. But that was important that Rogerio kept that clean, and Sigmund now over 4 seconds behind. And say that Rogerio sometimes drives away from the rest of the field, and that is the situation. Sigmund, even in clean air, the gap is increasing, and as we've had a change actually, Wilkins. Oh no, that's another GTP. I really like. Oh, there's too many battles going on. I want to show my fancy graphic, but we can't show my fancy graphic because we've got overtakes. That's Pettersson past Favre. Or sorry,
yes,
Pettersson being overtaken by Cabral. Sorry.
Yes, there we are. Ferrari versus the Acura here, as we do see as well. Cabral, of course, getting that move done, and they're running a bit wide and allowing Pettersson to close back up and possibly make another move. Of course, these two battling for P5 at the moment. You can see there, Cable all over the road at the moment and just trying to keep Pettersson behind. Here is Norbert Tamash, a leader in the GTP Pro category in the Cadillac, ahead of Salipa and Taroksky in P3 at the moment. Those three very close together so far. And then, of course, looking further back then, Asira and Fava and Jep just starting to lose a little bit more time. And, of course, after having incidents at the start, it does sort of lower your confidence, and that's what's causing these drivers not to be on that top pace, probably where we normally expect to see them. So, of course, hopefully they can have a better 45 minutes of this race. Of course, we are 15 minutes of the way through, about a quarter of this race, and the gaps are starting to increase, but we have got a big battle here between Grassetto and Diaz. That gap back down to half a second. It's constantly been ebbing and flowing there between the two in the LMP2 AM category, so we'll shortly take a look at what's happening between those two. And of course, the more they battle, the more that Williams can get involved as well and try and jump up into a top 2 spot. Of course, we've got a few classes, I think, all mixed up here at the moment. I think a few of the GTPs looking to work their way through.
Yeah, still got Wilkins to get through these guys, and yeah, Crawford and Greato and Jurette. We've actually still got everyone running, which is impressive that they want to keep on running to the end of the race, considering their setbacks early on, but of course they do get a faster pair to these drivers, so if they do have an incident on that one, they can come back. By the way, entries are open for this series, which you can enter over at apexracingleague.com. Still got another 4 rounds to go after this, so it's still worth putting a name down. Entries are also open for the final 2 rounds of the GT3 Trophy. And the series that I'm most excited about is Apex Racing League Touring Car Britain 2025. It's on Thursday evenings, and I'll be following the real-life BTCC calendar. Really a series nothing like it, at least from what I've seen on iRacing over the last few years. So if you're a fan of touring car action, or just want to take part in a cool series which emulates a real life series, do visit apexracingleague.com and check out the Discord as well. A link to that is in the description below. You can see whenever a new series is announced.
Indeed, and that's one thing I love about ARL. There's so many different types of championships they do, which you don't really see anywhere else, and I think that, you know, that's what kind of separates, I think, ARL from everything else. So I'll be certainly tuning in to the BTCC. Not something I actually watch the IRL version of, but in iRacing it seems a lot more interesting, as we do see there Silas Cragg Vrolik going off into the gravel. Dropping a little bit further down in the LMP2 AM category, not going the way he would have wanted it to, as we do see here Christian Maltrek here in P2 defending from Ethan Marone, who of course I think got overtaken earlier on by Segro, has now got past Maltrek as well, so now we do have a nice little battle for P2 in the GTP AM category as we just head our way through. Of course you can see Segro disappear off, and then, of course, the bright green of Maltrek, and then the yellow and black of Ethan Marone. We'll see what those two can get up to, as we do have a big battle here forming for the lead of the LMP2 category. Diaz looking to pull to the outside into turn 1. Can't quite find that move. Nearly hit the back, actually, of Grassetto heading into the braking zone. Just trying to weave around, try and find the best line. But I think it's going to be a bit more of a when, not an if. Diaz can try and get this move done.
Looks very, very strong. Here comes the drafts. There's not much of it, but when you're that close, you are going to get a decent amount of propulsion. Here comes the GTPs as well. Please don't do anything dumb. And fortunately, they don't make it 3 wide. And Diaz cannot get that move done. Grassetto is holding on at the front of the LMP2 AMs. Now, I think is that Wilkins makes his way past in the GTP. But yeah, then you can of course see Graf and Williams and Wilby. I will just show for a second the overall positions that we have as well, if I can recall how to do it. Because of course we've got the pros and the outs mixed in around one another, so when we show the standings on the left, it's not usually totally reflective, so we might interchange a little bit as the race goes on. But yeah, that's the overall standing, so you can see how the green amateurs are mixing around the black pros in the GTPs, and then of course the red amateurs, the blue amateurs in the LMP2s are mixing around the red pros in the LMP2s.
Indeed. It's great to see, isn't it, that there's a bit of a mix and a bit of an interchange between the pros and the AMs in both series. Shows that, you know, even though they're classed as an AM, they still, you know, some of them have the pace to be with the GTP or the LMP2 pros. It is a really good thing to see. As here's Diaz again now, looking to try and close back up to the back of Fabio Grassetto. Of course, came very close to making a move earlier on, but of course got caught up by a few of the GTPs and had to bail out. As here's Cesar Cabral as well, looking to, I think, that's going to be Zoltan Bido. That's going to be a spin. I think they're probably a lot of traction at the top of the hill.
And has he I think he's dislocated a front tyre as well.
Yeah.
It seemed to be bouncing up and down a lot. Oh, that's a mistake from Wilkins, who just unlapped or just overtaken all these guys. Now he's going to have to do it all over again, which is such a pain, I think, for the LMP2s. And here he comes. So he managed to get through them cleanly the first time at least. These guys are probably not going to be particularly accommodating letting the GTP pass. They'll be thinking, we let you pass one time, and you made us go offline for a second time now. But at least he's got past one of them. That's Wilkins.
Yeah, indeed, and looking just to try and get a little bit closer to the top 5. He's around a minute off, though, so it's going to take a lot of effort to get there, but you never know. Crazier things have happened in this world, so we'll see what Wilkins can do here in the rest of this race. And we can see, of course, here, Benjamin Fragilio with a 4.7 second lead to Fabian Siegman, and then, of course, Michael Halfie-Dayton in third. As I think we saw a move further ahead. I'm not quite sure who it was, but I did see a couple of positions change around. Was it Retty getting past the Serra? Maybe I'm not sure. Or was it Marone? Yeah.
Let's see.
I think so. Let's see. Oh, it's a big send, isn't it? Heading into the braking zone, and we can see there Maltrek running a little bit wide. I think it's just a better exit there for Marone. Should of course have the inside into the left-hander. Gets a move done. I think, to be fair, Maltrek kind of backed off a bit, didn't he? I think he's just kind of like, right, you're going to make the send, I'm just going to back out because, you know, it could have ended badly for both of us. So, clever there by Maltrek.
Yeah, Maltrek's one of the stalwarts of this series. He's been taking part in it for a while. And I don't really remember him ever getting involved in any mess, so he's a very smart driver. Is Christian. And yeah, he's doing well at the moment, up there in third place in the amateurs. Of course, yeah, losing that place, as you were saying before, just a moment ago. This is just another GTP passing an LMP2. But it is always interesting to see these LMP2s having to, let past these GTPs, because this can be an opportunity maybe for an overtake for one of them. Like it's going to happen this time. Graf managing to hold on to all those places. And yeah, they continue on. Of course, the pit window is going to open fairly soon. So for the GTPs, they could pit now and get to the end of the race. So any GTP pits now, that is a strategic stop. For the LMP2s, they'll need to be going till about 27 minutes until they can get to the end of the race. And the furthest they'll go is about 30, maybe 37, 38 minutes. They might be able to go into it.
Yep, so I reckon give it about 10 minutes. We'll see most of the drivers being going into the pit lane. Then, of course, we'll see how that affects the race, because even though the gaps are starting to be a little bit more heavy, of course, pit stops always cause a bit of an issue in the races. Here we do see one of the moves that I think will be Crawford getting past Diaz there, jumping up into 19th overall, and of course in class not going too well here for Paul Crawford. As of course just watching Diaz here, of course still P2 behind the back of Grassetto, but because of the GTPs working their way through, that gap has started to increase. As we do see further ahead there, Richard Jepp having a bit of a battle with Oliver Pettersson, as Jepp has got that move complete and now looks to strive and continue further on, as we do see John Williams in the pits as well here in the LMP2, and another car following in just behind. I think that might be Aston Wilby.
And we've had a change as well for second place in the LMP2, so I think that was a mistake from Fabian Siegman. And this allowed Halfler-Darson to get past. So Siegman's actually doing a good job at maintaining the gap to the race leader. And he's totally overshot that one, and Halfler-Darson not wasting time. Had to go a lot of speed there, did Halfler-Darson, in order to take advantage of that mistake. So, yeah, did not leave Israel too much space to rejoin. Drivers getting off the jack, so I think it should be 4 tyres. Yeah, 4 tyres pretty easy for Williams, and he gets back out onto circuit. So yeah, he'll be able to get to the end of the race, but that is as early as you can pit in the LMP2s. You won't be pitting any earlier than that.
Indeed, as here we do see Wilkins as well in towards the left-hander. Actually has a LMP2 getting past him there.
Yes, yeah. I think it's around this part of the circuit, the GTPs don't really have much of a pace advantage. It's when they get onto the straights that they can really stretch their legs. So yeah, through those couple of tight corners, he gets overtaken, but then they get onto a straight again and he can blast his way past.
Yeah, so I was looking there and thinking, well, was it actually LMP2? And he's sending it in towards the turn 12. I think that's going to be Fabian Siegmann there. Certainly not here to mess around, and he's not letting the GTPs get past quickly at all. As we do see both Crawford and Ibram as well, and that's going to be Ibram off the circuit and dropping further down from our leader. Of course, Ibram was in that fight for the lead, and now is around 11 seconds off. As here's a replay of Nick Mercer into turn 1. Does he overdo it? He certainly does. But you got cold tyres. It's it's something that will happen quite a lot if you go all out and go pushing on lap 1 of a new set.
Yeah, that was the first opportunity he had to spin it, and he did. So that'll be yeah, unfortunate for him. Just shows that it's not just the GTPs, but it's also the LMP2s, which are tricky on the cold tyres now. And hopefully Wilkins is past these guys, and Crawford is past these guys, and yeah, the GTPs can race in their own battle now. That was a good few corners though for half the Delta. He's now 1.2 seconds ahead of Siegmann, so he has got a little bit of a gap now to those cars behind. The field is faced bit out. I mean, really, we've paid a lot of attention to the LMP2s, which I'm quite grateful for, because I think it's very easy often to accidentally show the top class a lot more than the lower classes, despite us broadcasters trying our best. It is sort of a natural tendency, but really there haven't been many battles whatsoever in the GTPs. We had a few issues in the early stages for drivers, and so for the most part they have just been a second or so away from each other. Out in the lead, Norbert Tamas is 1.3 seconds ahead, and we can see the graphic that I like, which shows the gap over time.
Indeed. It's a very interesting graphic, isn't it, that? So, of course, you could see the gap's gone up, and it's now started to slowly come back down again. It must have been a bit of a mistake somewhere, because you can see the gap goes up, down, up, down. I know I've just said what it looks like, but yeah, that's what I'm reading anyway.
Well, there might be some, I don't know. I mean, it helps. I mean, us commentators, we need to state the obvious. I mean, what I would say is that, like, the intervals that you can see, I mean, it started off at 1.1 seconds, now 1.2 seconds. So those, like, gaps, we're talking hundredths of a second each lap. And so there really isn't anything which I'm really surprised about, because usually the traffic causes you to have a little bit more of an ebb and flow. But between these guys, every single time it is very, very close.
Yeah, it's gone quite smooth for our GTP pros. Those in the top 3 at least. Everyone else behind has suffered some sort of incidents over the course of this race. Of course, watching here, Fabio Grassetto is, of course, behind Diaz. Of course, Diaz still has to go for a pit stop. And Williams has actually came out within 2/10 here of Grassetto. So a nice pit stop by John Williams to get a bit of an undercut going, and now being contention possibly for the lead of the AM categories. We just follow these two through, and we can see Williams just looking to try and find an opportunity to send a move, but not quite close enough yet. Of course, as we head our way back down to turn 1, a bit of a slipstream here for John Williams. Will pull to the left-hand side. It will be Grassetto on the right into turn 1. This is going to get closer contact. I think nearly a bit of contact between the two. And Williams will have to hang it around the outside. Always a harder thing to do. We'll look for a switchback. Can't do so. And now we have Aston Wilby catching up on the back of them.
Yeah, and this is the opportunity that Williams has got, because he's got 1 lap older tyres, which means that he's going to have them a little bit more warmed up. So he's going to have a bit more grip. Rather than a good pit stop, honestly, for Williams, it was sort of a bad pit stop for Grassetto. I think he took a bit too much fuel. And now they're driving into one another on the straight. There's a few bits of contact there. Wilby is very generous not to stick his nose on the inside there, because it really looked like he was leaving himself vulnerable there, Williams. And Grassetto is holding on into this position, and every corner that goes by, Grosseto gets a bit more heat into his tyres, and he'll feel more confident that he can hold on to that pace.
Indeed, great defence by Grosseto over at least past half a lap. Of course, more cars are looking to catch up there. One of our GTPs as well, I think, is in the background there. That might be Segro, if I'm correct. Just catching up onto the back of these two, well, three LMP2 cars, of course, two of them battling for position. The other one just driving around the track. He's over a minute off from the lead. As we do see there, our GTP make its way through. Of course, having to be a little bit more cautious here into turn 12. We know that the LMP2s aren't much slower here. So it does give those guys an opportunity to not lose as much time to the GTPs, as here we do see, of course, our leader, Norbert Tamash, ahead of Diogo Saliba, who's done a very good job so far here in this race. Of course, all of our top 5 running the Cadillac, showing it's probably the better car here in terms of our GTPs, and this is our gaps over the first 3 sectors.
Yeah.
And it just shows, doesn't it, Sam, how close these guys are. Look at that, not even a tenth separated by any of them in that first 3 sectors.
Yeah, I've just gone through all the graphics there to try to figure out where the time was lost, because the gap was 1.2 seconds, now down to 0.8 of a second, but none of the graphics I've shown have actually demonstrated that fact, unless...
Oh, 50.5 there.
There you go, yeah, 6
slower.
tenths to a second. There you go. That's, I should have shown that the first time. It only took me 5 attempts. And yeah, 6 tenths faster for Sleep on that last. I imagine that was just a bit of traffic, but yeah, maybe a little bit closer now. You might be getting a waft of slipstream. But the gap comes up a little bit to 9 tenths to a second as they move into the second half of the race.
Indeed, and of course, in our championship battle between our top 3, of course, it's Tamash that leads. Then we have Segro in P2 and Richard Jepp in P3. At the moment, Jepp's in P6 and Segro is in P7. So this is a big opportunity here for Norbert Tamash just to keep increasing that gap at the front of the championship and just be more comfortable, as of course we still have 3 rounds to go after this one, round 7, 8 and 9. We'll see. But yeah, I think the way it's going at the moment, Tamash is certainly looking to kind of do what he can to get the championship done as quick as possible, as here's Segro just making his way past another of the LMP2s as we head back into turn 12. Looking at the gaps elsewhere, of course we've still got Grosseto and Williams a little bit close. Siegman and Ibram now have started to increase their gap a little bit. That gap was a lot closer earlier on, and then we also have Marone and Maltrek as well, separated by just under a second. So gaps are starting to increase and decrease, but the only gaps that start to increase, on my views, are those between P1 and P2.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Okay, 8 tenths to a second between Tamas and Saliba. The cap now for Frigerio. We're welcome to Paul, by the way, in chat. Hopefully you are having a good evening. And yeah, your man Frigerio doing very, very well. 9 seconds clear. Let's get my graphic up because it's been very dominant.
Yeah.
Really, he has driven away from the rest, and that is how that gap has gone up to Hafler-Darson as the race going on. It's quite a lot in recent laps as well. Of course, Hafler-Darson was running in P3 for much of this race. Siegman was ahead of Hafler-Darson, but went wide. And Frigerio just in a different league today.
Yeah, absolutely flying at the moment, ahead of 2nd and 3rd. I mean, P5 is a minute and 10 seconds back. I mean, I know they made a pit stop, but still, it just shows how big that gap is and how dominant he is at the moment. Of course, as well as GTP ARMS as well, gaps are also quite large there. Of course, Julian Ratti is in the lead to Ethan Marone. That's nearly 15 seconds, so a brilliant job so far by Ratti. And then, of course, in our GTP Pros, the gaps are a little bit closer between P1, 2 and 3. But then, of course, 4th and 5th and those below, that gap starts to increase. We're just approaching the 34th minute of the race, so I don't think it'll be long before we see most of our GTPs making their pit stop here.
Yeah, not too far away now. I think the furthest that they can go on fuel for the GTPs will probably be about, yeah, maybe 45 minutes or so. But so yeah, a few of them will probably be wanting to come in, especially, I mean, it's sort of an overcut, but it's sort of an undercut at the same time, because if you come out of the pits, then you're going to be on cold tyres. So in that sense, it's going to be an overcut. You won't be going out there on the extra lap. But of course, if you have the cold tyres, but then you warm them up, then when the other driver comes into the pits, they're going to have cold tyres. With obviously you've got warm tyres, and you might have a chance. So it's certainly an overcut, but it's also a chance to mix up strategy and cause a pace differential, which might be what some of these drivers need if they are struggling to overtake one of their rivals.
Indeed.
So Fabian Siegman, I think, has come into the pits. Where's he gone? No, hang on.
Oh. He's disappeared there.
Or, is it? Yeah.
Oh no. That certainly doesn't look good. We just see a picture of a tree. Has there been a mistake here by Siegman? No, this will be Hugo Preto.
Okay. Here, can I watch Siegman? Oh, there it was. And then he disappeared.
Oh, so is he glitched out the session? Yeah. This is very confusing. Well, I think he's gone. Unfortunately.
Let's get an onboard. Oh, this is going to us, I think.
Let's tuck round and... Yeah, bye.
Yeah, his wheel seemed to lock a moment before he disconnected as well. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know, like...
Yeah, Alt F4, says Paul.
Yeah, I mean, that would be
take me back.
very quick to Alt F4. Like, I don't know if, like, he got so angry that his, like, head exploded with rage and it broke his PC. I don't know, but that seemed really quick. But maybe Paul's right.
Well, if he was, that shows some quick reaction time there by Siegman. But either way, he's pretty much out this race. Now he's going to drop all the way down to the bottom of his class. So we see here John Williams, just closing in on the back of Grassetto there. And this gap certainly hasn't increased as much as I thought it would. I thought once Grassetto warmed up those tyres, that gap would increase. But no, it certainly has not. And Williams is still on the back of Grassetto here for P2 in class. Of course, Diaz still has to pit in this race, and we'll see whereabouts he'll come out afterwards. Looking at the front again, that gap between Tamash and Salipa is still just increasing and decreasing constantly. It just shows how equal they are on pace, doesn't it?
Yeah. It is... Oh, as Halfland Darson comes into the pits. The LMP2s can't go much further than this. They've got to be in... I think Frigerio will probably be on the next lap, honestly. Like, it's very rare that they manage to go 40 minutes on tank of fuel to the LMP2. So Halfland Darson in, albeit most of his rivals being able to continue on. That will be good news for... the drivers who he was battling with. Siegman. Oh yeah, of course, Siegman. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking, where's the driver who he was battling with? It wasn't Ibram, it was Siegman, but obviously we saw Siegman is out of the race. He Alt F4 or something, and so he is not in contention, and so it should be a fairly easy P2 for Halfland Darson. He is taking some tyres, taking a little bit more fuel now, and he should be out any second. Oh, this is a long pit stop. A couple of seconds longer than what he'd want.
Yep, and I think, people forget, I think in this game, because of how pit stops are so dependent on what you choose to do and, the way you enter the pits, what you choose in terms of fuel and stuff, it just shows how much they can really change a race, can't they? You can lose a couple of seconds, but in a race, a couple of seconds matters so much more than you believe.
Yeah, what these guys would give for a couple of seconds, because they are still battling one another for hundredths of a second, and still Williams cannot pass. We are riding on board with Aston Wilby right now. He's got a good view of this. Wilby's been very patient. I don't want to be too harsh to Aston, but he did become the first driver to secure a qualifying ban this season. So basically, if the drivers are involved in enough incidents, they earn license points, and once you've earned 6 license points, you get a qualifying ban. And I believe Wilby was the first driver to get a qualifying ban for this round, which, to be fair, isn't too bad, because we're halfway through the season. To get 6 license points in the first 5 rounds isn't that bad, but just demonstrates actually how clean the racing has been generally this season. So he will be with a qualifying ban, part of the reason why he's a bit further down, and he's trying to make up places now.
I mean, with the incidents we've had today, most of them are just drivers making mistakes on their own and others getting caught up in it. It's not necessarily being contact. in terms of, you know, drivers trying to make moves on each other. A lot of it's been someone having a spin and all the cars come barreling into them. As we do see here, Lucas Diaz, of course, race leader in the LMP2 category, coming into the pits along with Frigerio and Ibram as well in the LMP2 Pros. As looking at the front, we're expecting the GT piece to be in with what in the next 5 minutes? Give them a 15-minute slash and dash.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they could pit halfway through and change tyres, but they don't want to change tyres seemingly because I think the tyres would be so cold that they wouldn't get the benefit from it. I guess there goes for Joe, but behind it's actually going to be more interesting because we've got Ibram, who will be behind half the dozen but ahead of Graf. I would have thought, right? So here comes half the dozen. It's going to be pretty close. Ibram's still behind, but he's a comfortable P3. Yep. And then where's Diaz going to be if he comes back? Where is he? Where's he gone?
Oh, no. Is that another driver with an issue?
Where is he? He's gone again. Okay, we'll try to get him on replay. His final few moments. Oh, no. Diaz. No, he's already gone at this point.
What has happened there then? We've just said goodbye. Into the pits and disconnected, it seems. Oh my, that is not ideal at all.
There you go, that was the moment. I just caught it on the replay there. Oh, what's going on? All these...
Must be someone with the server here. 2 drivers have gone within the space of what, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Very dear strange. Me.
I mean, I'm reluctant to call it a server thing because that pretty much never happens on iRacing. And when it does, it's like international news, you know. But it's really rare. So I don't think it's that. I think it's just a coincidence that maybe the first one was Alt F4, but yeah, that one was unlucky, and that takes out. That would have been a shame because I was really curious as to whether he'd be ahead of this pack or whether he'd be in the middle of it.
It would have been close, wouldn't it, between Diaz and Gracetta and that? It would have been really close. So yeah, unfortunately though, we won't get to see that because Diaz will be pretty much out of the race. But Gracetta just being overtaken there by a GTP and hitting the back of them nearly through turn 12. Not where you want to be making contact, as we do see Williams here looking to try and go around the outside into turn 14, gets pushed off the track by Gracetta and comes back on behind in P2, but has a good run here. Only a couple tenths of a gap down to turn 1. Is this where we see Williams jump and make a move? A couple of GTPs as well, passing as well. I've got to be careful of that. Heading down to turn 1. To the outside goes Williams, nearly making contact. Nearly again into turn 1 we go. This could end badly between the two. And Gracetta keeps that P1 spot. Williams looking for the up and under, but just couldn't quite get it done there.
Yeah, he's tried that a couple of times where he's been forced on the outside, but there's just no way past Gracetta as it stands. We've got another 17 minutes to go. As he gets into the draft again. Have they got anyone sat right behind them? I think they should be spared, but they've got Oliver Petson coming up in a couple of laps' time, which they're going to have to watch out for. Another GTP driver. Oh, here he goes, looks to the inside, but Gracetta, good defence again. He put his car in the middle of the circuit, and there was nowhere through.
Indeed, and yeah, big shame there for Williams. Got to keep fighting as hard as possible, as we do see here. Retty and Malone into the pits here for the GTP AMS. Maltrek still continuing on. As, yeah, there we are, Marone just heading into the pits at the moment. And here is Cedar Cabral, who's also heading into the pits P4 in the GTP AMP category. So, of course, we'll see how these guys continue on to the end. And I think that all of our top 4 in the pros have pitted, haven't they, I think?
So our top 4 I have yet to pit in for the GTPs. Okay. So, yeah, still Tamas pushing it all the way. I mean, this is... I did say 45 minutes, didn't I? So maybe this is as far. Maybe they could eke out another lap. I mean, this is when Sleeper, who, of course, won our previous round back at Sebring in dominant fashion. He would have really liked to save enough fuel to get an extra lap, albeit I would not want to do the extra lap because he got that cluster of LMP2s just in front of these guys. Tamas might be able to dive into the pits just before he meets them, or does he have enough fuel to do another lap? No, he's in. Is Sleeper in? Yes, he is.
And I mean, that's good for them now because they haven't got to worry about that LMP2 train up ahead. There's a bit of a lock-up. Was that an overspeed possibly?
I mean, he was pushing it, right?
Yeah, it was. It looked very close. Of course, you could see the lockup as well. as they went into the pit, so that'll be one to keep an eye on. Of course, Toroxky as well into the pits, along with Nocera as well, our top 4, all making their stop, and we'll see how this pit stop goes. Hopefully they all make it cleanly and none of them make a mistake, because that's the last thing you want to do in the pit lane.
So hopefully they get... I mean, this will be the test. If Salipa is stationary for more than 20 seconds then, or more than 20... Yeah, it should be around 20 seconds that these guys are stationary. You can see he actually turns the engine off, does Salipa, in the pits. Oh, could he get ahead? This is going to be super close. And then merged into each other, and Salipa has managed to get ahead. What an incredible pit stop. He absolutely nailed the pit entry. He wasn't speeding. He nailed it on pit entry. He gained a couple of tenths on that. He was so good stopping into his box as well. And he had a 7 tenths to a second shorter pit stop time. Then he was off the limiter so quick coming out of the pits. And he's in the lead, and he could be on for a second consecutive race win.
Certainly, absolutely brilliant there by Diogo Salipa, as we can see there. Tamas all over the rear, in towards the braking zone, looks to go up the inside. Will it be a bit of a switchback? It was going to be, but a bit of a tap there from Salipa onto Tamas, and Salipa actually pays off and gets up into that top spot once again here. As we continue on, and we can see there flashing from Tamas, not happy with the defence there, as we head our way down into the left-hander. Let's see what can Tamas do, and I think this time plays it a little bit more conservative.
I wonder if that could be a penalty post-race for Salipa, because he did just seem to drive straight into the back of his rival. I'll try to get a replay of it. But yeah, it seemed pretty suspicious, this one. Let's try to get the... This is a decent angle, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could argue that Towns was sort of diving in on that, and like there wasn't really... Salipa sort of turned out of the corner and yet still made contact. I'm not sure. We'll see what the stewards think.
Looking at it from that view, I don't think there's much Salipa could do, especially if he's got his, FOV quite zoomed in. He's not going to really see Tamas coming as hot on his heels. So we'll have to see what the stewards decide with that one. Tamas, though, down to turn 1. He's going to look to go and make a move up the inside, possibly. He's a little bit too far back, though, at the moment. He isn't really gaining much of an overspeed. You can see broke a lot later. Went for a bit of a dummy, but just backed it because he knew that Salipa was not going to budge at that one. As we head our way through, and a brilliant job by these two. Of course, we can see Toroxky in P3 and Nocera in P4. Those gaps are still starting to increase, so it just shows how good these top two are. And it would, and I'm quite sad that we don't have Segro here, because it would have been great to see where he would have been in all of this.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have been right in amongst them. I forgot that Toroxky was in this race, honestly. But there he is. I don't think I haven't clicked on his name for the whole race, but he is 5 seconds behind, and if the top two keep bouncing like they are, then maybe he could get himself into play. But yeah, very, very lonely P3. Salipa's under pressure again. Not that you can really overtake around this part of the track.
No, certainly not. And it will be, I think, a race to the end between these two. And I'm hoping it doesn't end badly, because they are going to get close to contact on a lot of occasions, especially if they are fighting hard for this win like they are at the moment. It all nearly ended badly after they exited the pit lane. They was phasing through each other at one point, and then a bit of a misjudged send and misjudged defence kept Tamas behind, but a send up to turn 12, and Tamas does take the lead there. A brilliant move by Norbert Tamas, and now we do see Diogo Salipa sitting in P2. Of course, we'll be looking shortly to get some of that slipstream down that back straight into turn 1 to possibly launch another send. The gap there, 3.5 tenths of a second. Have we got any overspeed here for Salipa? He's gaining in, but not much at all, is he? He's gained, what, 8 thousandths on that straight?
Yeah, it's nothing, is it? I wonder if maybe Tamas is running a little bit less drag. They are both in the caddy, as pretty much everyone is now in the LMP, in the GTP. So they changed the, all the drivers got a free car swap for the new season, because it's so tricky to tell at the start of the season whether in 4 weeks' time you're going to accidentally pick a car, which is absolutely rubbish come the new season. Nocera, I think, has just had a mistake. No, he's all right. I think he just went off the track slightly. But Salipa has got a little bit of damage on the front of that car as well, so I wonder if that's compromising his front straight line speed. Not quite sure how aero sensitive these GTP cars are, but you can certainly see a little bit of imperfection on the front of that car. So maybe that contact, after all, cost Saliba more than Tamas. Or maybe Tamas was just maybe holding something in reserve for that first stint, and now he really needs to use it. He's starting to. I think that may have been a change as well for Malchurek. Has Malchurek just overtaken there? Because he's ahead of Ethan Murray.
Yeah, I think Malchurek was already ahead. I've been keeping an eye on that gap. I think Malchurek's been ahead for quite a few minutes at the moment. Of course, Marone, though, was caught up quickly, and he's looking also to make a move. Here's a replay of what happened here. So,
the pit stop even.
Oh, so this happened quite a while back then between Malchurek and Marone.
No.
Oh, no.
So he got past during the pit stop sequence.
Ah, well, very clever. Yeah. And, of course, we'll see what Malchurek can do. But, of course, with him being in the Porsche, yes, and Marone being in the Cadillac, we'll see what difference that makes. Of course, we know that the Cadillac is the best GTP in the game at the moment. But saying that, Marone's having a hard time getting on the back of Malchurek there, just losing a bit of time through turn 9, and certainly coming under a lot of pressure here to jump back up into P2.
Yeah, he's already overtaken Malchurek once in this race before, so that might give him a bit of confidence. And of course, he has got. Yeah, I guess he's got slightly. So he's got older tyres. Man, I don't know why I'm struggling to think right now. But that means that he should be faster right now, right, Murray? Because of course he's got warmer tyres. But Malchurek, he's got his tyres up to temperature. I mean, they did pit a few laps ago, I guess, so that they are up to temperature. So maybe Murray's best shot at coming back at his rival has disappeared. The driver ahead of them is someone who, I don't know, is that Hugo Prieto? It is Hugo Prieto, but Hugo Prieto is a lap down, so they're not risky.
No, certainly not. I'd be worried if they were, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll see what happens here between Marone and Malchurek. Of course, that gap slowly increasing. Here is Aston Wilby.
So Gussetto lost out, didn't he?
Oh, yes. Yeah, 1.8 seconds. So Williams must have made that move. And, well, it seems there's a bit of a pace differentiation there between those two. And Diaz is back, but he's 1 minute and 47 seconds back, it seems.
Here was the overtake. Was this a mistake actually from Gussetto? So this was the battle. So this is basically how it came to a head. Oh, and Gussetto just pushed it a little bit too hard. And that is how those places change. So Williams, to be fair to him, at this point wasn't that far ahead, but he has since pulled away from Wilby. And Gussetto in the end just fantastic defence up to that point, but could not do it forever.
Certainly could not. There's Graf. I think just passing one of the LMP2s, and here is Benoit Faber in P5. Who's made a mistake?
Marone, because he was right on the tail of Malchurek, wasn't he? So
yeah, we'll 16 seconds. Yeah, we'll see what happened there. That's a big mistake to lose 16 seconds. Is it contact, or was it just a mistake from Marone? Heading up to turn 5. Goes through there quite nicely. It's on the exit. No, not there. Into turn 7. Ooh, wide. And
okay, so that was his second one, so I think there may have been one before.
Could have been, yeah. Unless it's here. Interesting.
Oh, you know what? I'm not seeing. Oh, he's come into the pits.
Oh, he's got damage somewhere then, hasn't he? Dear me.
Yeah.
Well. There we go.
I might be really unprofessional here and just rewind until we get it.
See, that works. Just do that. Let's see.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. This isn't very good broadcasting, but I'm really curious as to what happened to him because I'm pretty sure it was on this app. And you can see he was going pretty slowly then before this. So here it is.
Ooh. See, I think the funny part was you clicked off it as we got to like here.
Yeah.
Loses the rear, locks the tyres, and I mean. That's quite a lot of damage for what looks like a small incident.
Yeah.
Does he lose it? I don't think he loses it again, does he?
No, so I think we tuned into it after this point, and so we saw his next
Oh,
stop.
yes.
So, if I get a half-decent camera, is he crabbing? I mean, he doesn't look very confident, does he? There's a little
that is
bit
weird.
I'm not sure if he is crabbing, but yeah. he certainly had some damage.
Yeah.
And he is now back behind Seagrove, barely ahead of Cabral.
Oh, that's going to be a big battle here between Cabral and Marone. The Cadillac versus the Ferrari. As we head our way down to turn 5, one of the LMP2s just getting in the way a little bit there. As we head our way through, I think that might be Graf. Of course, we do see here Hugo Preto, P6 in the GTP AM category.
Just at the fastest lap of the race as well, by the way.
Oh, that is very interesting. We'll see what that lap was. So 1:48.6. I think that is the only 48 we've had. Oh, Marone. I missed that because I was looking at the timing monitor.
I was a little bit slow to get to that one, but I think we got the meat of it, we can say.
What happened?
So I think he let's go even further back actually. I think he may have had a war with Cabral. Cabral's behind him here. Marone barely ahead. Does Cabral hit him a bit here? No. Marone, he drives wide, and then I think he's fed up at this point. And then he's like, oh no, he lost it by, like, that wasn't an intentional wreck. That was...
Was it not?
I think he lost it. Well, we'll get his onboards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say you're wrong, but that looks very odd to just turn left there. Oh my. We've had lots of things happen this race, haven't we?
Yeah, I thought he just maybe lost control of it over the grass. I mean, he's so impatient on the throttle here. Maybe... It's not turning whatsoever. On the gravel.
Oh no, he loses it, doesn't he? He actually, yeah. Oh my, well, there we are, I'm wrong. Oh my. That's not often we see a crash end like that from something that was such little when he was on the grass. So there we are, Marone's race is over, pretty much, I think, here.
Yeah, I think
not what he would have wanted.
His meatball, or his fast repair, sorry, on the crash before, so he will be our 4th retiree from this race. We've had Siegmund retired due to an Alt F4 thing, we think. Mercer retired, I can't remember what that reason was, and Craig Volek was spinning on a top for the 8 laps that he did complete, so they are all out of contention.
Well, there we are. It's been an interesting one.
Understeer, and then a sad face. So yeah, I mean that understeer through the carousel was insane. I thought you were a bit impatient initially, Ethan, but actually it really didn't look like the car was turning.
No, that was certainly not what he would have been hoping for. I mean, I'd be rather annoyed if that happened to me, because it looks like at first he'd just gone a little bit wide and it spiralled into him ending up in a barrier and being out of the race. As we do see here, Simone Nucera in P4, Benjamin Frigerio in the top 1, in the top spots here for the LMP2 Pros. Has been brilliant today, hasn't he? Absolutely brilliant to lead by 16 seconds. That gap there you can see is just increased as the laps have gone on. And then I think another driver to mention is Julian Reti at the front to be leading by 26 seconds in his class. That is also a monumental performance, as we still have around 2.5 minutes to go here.
Yeah, man, I did not realise it was that close to the end, but it has gone by very quickly. Also, the fact that the previous round was 75 minutes as well, so maybe I'm also getting confused with that. But yeah, Frigerio absolutely dominating. And yeah, I think were you saying Retzi before as well?
Yes.
A long way clear of his nearest rival. Maltrek, so not doing a whole lot there in second place. And Maltrek will as well get a little bit lucky, because the drivers score points for their overall position in their car class, not their division. So often when we see a 27-second gap, that means that maybe you've got a few pros, but I can show you on the overall standings that actually these two are next to one another. Retzi and Maltrek are next to each other. There's just a huge chasm between the pair of them. But Retzi could still overtake Nucera here, so this is for position. 4/10 of a second. Nucera dropping into the clutches of Retzi in these closing stages, not feeling very comfortable with the car today, seemingly the Italian. And yeah, the Frenchman could overtake by the end. And by the way, the gap out in the lead still 0.6 of a second, but I must say I think Tamas maybe is just pacing himself right now, because it certainly didn't look like Saliba had any answer to him when it came to straight line speed.
No, I think just trying to get to the end now is Tamas, and of course take a victory and increase that gap in the championship as he just falls into the back of Gracetta. Will hopefully be looking to get that move done rather quickly and move up into, well, not into the lead, but move past another of the LMP2s you can see there. Just staying behind for now. Doesn't it? Yeah, and it allows Salipa to come through, doesn't it? And possibly make a send if it carries on like this.
I think Salipa maybe made a mistake in the last corner. I swear he was closer than that, but maybe got a bit over-eager. Can the race leader get clear as well into turn 1? Yeah, he just about can. Salipa lose a little bit of time to do that. Getting really into the majority of the LMP2s now.
Yeah, and I think there, Salipa actually gained a little bit on the back of that LMP2, and that is, you know, these little margins certainly do help. Of course, a couple more LMP2s for them to file through, which means the next lap they will complete will be the white flag, won't it? As we are now.
Well, yeah, this is the white flag. Yeah, so this is it.
Yeah.
So if Salipa's going to win this race, he's got to get past now. We're running aboard with John Williams, the LMP2, see how he interferes with this battle.
It's coming down, isn't it? 3.5 tenths here between Tamas and Salipa as we look to try and get ahead of Williams, the LMP2. And all you can see there, Salipa lays on the brakes into turn 6, looks to try and make the move, and for now just can't quite do so. In towards turn 7, the long right-hander. Try not to understeer, because that is very easy to do around here. We'll see what can Salipa do now on the back of Tamas as we head our way down. No way through yet, is there?
There is no way past. I think we've got one more lapped car, but there is Graf. Oh, he's making a big effort. There is Graf, and that will be it. They've not got no more laps runners to have to deal with now. Have our race leaders. So Tamas is looking good here with just 2 corners to go.
He certainly is. It's been a brilliant race here by Norbert Tamas, of course, was second after qualifying, but a mistake from Segro dropped him all the way to the back, and now Tamas, of course, has led it, I think, all the way, bar a couple of laps, of course, as we now head up to the line. It will be checkered flag P1 for Norbert Tamas to extend his lead in the championship, and Diogo Salipa rounds off in P2. And then, of course, it will be Tarowski in P3. Nacera as well, looking to come home in 4th, having a battle with Retty here as they head to the line. And, of course, we can see Julian Retty taking the win for the AM category of the GTPs. And then, of course, Maltrek, another 30 seconds back. But a really good race there, as we did as well see Williams cross the line, winning off the LMP2 AMs. What a race we've had here. Really interesting all the way to the end, especially between our 2 pros, between Tamas and Salipa.
Yeah, Salipa very much had the upper hand last time out at Sebring. It was a fantastic performance from the Portuguese show, who's sort of not necessarily been a front runner for the whole season, but these last couple of rounds he has been so impressive. A little bit of controversy with that contact between Tamas and Salipa. I'm sort of pleased that Tamas won, honestly, because it would have been sort of less conclusive had Salipa won, because we wouldn't have been sure whether or not he would have got a penalty or not. So we definitely know that Tamas, unless there's something that we didn't spot, maybe he made contact with an LMP2 or something, but unless anything like that happened, we know that he has won this round. And we also know that Benjamin Frigerio has won as well, and that I think is his biggest winning margin of the season. 17 seconds he's going to be clear of Michael Halfterdozen. I think that might be Halfterdozen's best result of the season in what has been an awful championship for him. He was one of the favourites going into the season, and it's not gone well for him, but that is a little bit better for him, and he has taken home P2 there. Ibrahim will be the last one on the podium. Maybe he's run out of fuel, I'm not sure he's facing it.
Slowly to the line, and we'll cross it there in 3rd in the LMP2 Pro category. A really good race, wasn't it? Yeah, really interesting. And of course, we'll shortly see our results of what happened once everybody, of course, crosses the line and completes the race. And yeah, really interesting. Of course, just want to see, where is it we head off to for round number 7?
Oh, you put the pressure on me. I did make the calendar, but I cannot remember.
Ooh. Fuji.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yep.
There we go. I was expecting you to know it, but no, you didn't, so I had to search it up myself.
I was making a thumbnail for it 3 days ago, and I've forgotten already.
Oh, dear me. But we'll see our race results shortly. We'll see 19th at the moment, but we'll look back at them later on. There we go. Oh, no.
Happens. No, I don't. Oh, unless. Oh. No. Come on, we can do this. Oh, okay, it's starting to work now. there you go. We got it.
Yay, there we are. So, of course, you can see it was Norbert Tamash that took the win ahead of Sleeper and Taroksky in the top 3 for the GTP Pros. And then, of course, we had Nasira in P4. Retty in P5, but, of course, winner of the AM category, the Maltrek in P2 for the AM category, and then Cable in P3 for the AM category. So we saw Favour, Segro and Jep as well in the top 10. Then we will see, of course, Crawford in P11, followed by Preto, then Benjamin Frigerio, the leader of the LMP2 Pro category, ahead of Ethan Marone. And then we had Michael Halford-Dayson, Oliver Pettersson. Then we had James Ibram and Simon Graff, the top 18. Then John Williams, our leader of the LMP2 AM category, ahead of Aston Wilby, Fabio Grassetto. Then we had Wilkins Diaz, Beto Giray, Sigmund Mercer, and then Craig Vrolik, our top 28. Very interesting race, and I think sometimes the race results screen doesn't show how interesting it actually was. The gaps looked large on that graphic, but believe me, there was lots of battling on track. But I do believe we do have a couple of people waiting for an interview.
Yes, and well, I'll let you have first dibs. Who would you like to drag up?
I'll drag in Julian. We'll bring him up. So, Julian, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yeah, copy.
Perfect. So, a really good race from yourself. Was pretty much dominant in the GTP Pro AM category. Really good job today, of course. P5 overall. What was your thoughts on that race?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, very happy for my race tonight. It's Rodham. It's a very good track for me. I did many laps in training, so I know the laps very well. And the Cadillac is my favorite GTP. At the beginning of the championship, I take the Ferrari, but yeah, I very appreciate the Cadillac. So very happy to win tonight.
Yeah, definitely, and that swap certainly working out well. Of course, that gap between yourselves and Maltrek in P2 was over 30 seconds, and I think that just shows how comfortable you were in the car. How did it feel throughout that race? Did the car feel comfortable the whole way through? Was it all balanced?
The car is very great to drive. Compared to the Ferrari, the brakes are very tricky with the Ferrari.
Yeah.
And the grip for all the stint is very awesome. So yeah, definitely love the Cadillac.
Yeah, definitely helped you towards the end. The pace was really good. And of course, next time out we head off to Fuji. Is that a track that you're excited for?
It's a very different track to Road America, but yes, it's a very interesting circuit. So we work hard for take another podium in Fuji.
Indeed, and hopefully that all ends well. But before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Thanks for support, my friends, the team, and very thanks to Marshall Huber to give some advice for this track. So thank you very much.
Indeed. So Julian, thank you for joining us, and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye. Well, there we go.
Retty there, yeah. Very pleased with that result. I'm sure strong for his championship. Let's have a chat with Michael Halford-Dawson next. Michael, congratulations. By my reckoning, is that your best result of the season so far, P2?
Sadly, it is, yes.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there was no rain to help you out today, but it seemed like you had a good battle. It was pretty close between yourself and Fabian in the early stages. I mean, from where you were, was it clear who sort of had the pace advantage between you two?
I think during the first 2 laps, I struggled to get the tires working, but then I got them working, and I think I had more pace, but I was P4, so I thought I would just save fuel, but they started battling so hard in front of me that we were just losing to all the guys behind, so I kind of had to try to make a move when I could. And luckily they pushed each other wide a lot, and then obviously a few laps later I could get past when Fabian went wide into turn 3, or technically turn 5, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, he sort of made that mistake, and you were able to take advantage of that. How was it just driving around the circuit in this LMP2? Because I mean, I sort of think of this as a really good car track combination. Is it one that you enjoy?
I mean, personal opinion, I think it's way overused, but it's a combination that you've driven so much that you almost know it by heart. So it's at least easy to get into it again. And I don't know why, but it fits my driving style. So yes, I like it, but I also dislike it.
Were you one of the ones who voted? Were you part of the Portland campaign?
I was the starter of the Portland campaign, I think. I mean, it's a new track. Come on.
I was well, but I mean that and Montreal would have much preferred those two to this. But
yeah,
here we are, you know, democracy. But looking ahead to the next round, we've got Fuji, which was not voted by the drivers, but is part of the IMSA official series, of course. Yeah, how are you feeling about that one?
Pretty decent. I've only driven it in the rain a few seasons back when it just came out, but I think we can have some decent pace there. It's similar to this track in some corners, a bit different in others, so maybe we'll see. Hopefully I can at least bring the confidence I've gotten from the P2 here into the next round.
We wish you best of luck, of course, Michael. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to Crispy who couldn't make it, who's drinking beer instead, and to all of my teammates in Alcantech and all the sponsors over there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, and yeah, we'll see you back next week.
Have a good one.
Michael Harford-Darson there, your second place finisher, and we've got one more interview.
We certainly do. We'll drag in. There we go. Caesar, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfectly. So, really good race today, of course. P3 in the GTP category. Explain to us, how did that race go for yourself? Because it was a really interesting one, wasn't it? Lots of contact, especially in those first couple of laps with drivers from every category there.
Yeah, basically it was I had no idea what carnage happened in the beginning. I just was gained some positions to have just an overview of what's happened with my qualifying. I had no setup, so I was trying to figure out what I have to do, and I put it at the baseline and I tried to figure out how to do it. I just managed half the pace of 49s and 50s. In the end of the race, when I finally got a configuration running, so I just was racing and thinking, okay, I hope everything goes fine. I want to keep my tires safe and everything in the right temperature. So yeah, I guess I managed, and I'm quite happy and surprised with P3. But yeah, of course we wanted a little bit more. I had some problems with LMP2s and also some mistakes by myself. So otherwise I could manage at least P2. So in general, in the end, it's good. Long time that I don't here with you guys speaking. I'm quite happy to back to interview zone, and yeah, hopefully and until the end of the season can do more.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, next time out we head to Fuji. Is that a track that you're excited for this season?
Yeah, I love the Fuji. I love Fuji. This is my secret, not tell no one.
So is it a win there? No excuses. Have to go for the win in Fuji.
Full send it. Full send it.
Well, other drivers have to beware then, because you're going to have you charging right behind them. No care in the world, just sending moves.
Let's see. I will play my playlist with a smooth operator, and let's see.
Oh dear me. Hopefully all goes well for you. I won't be here next week, so I won't be able to see what happens, but I'm sure I'll have to tune back in afterwards and see how it went. So of course, Caesar, thank you for an interview. Great to have you in here with us, and hopefully you'll be back again next week after your win in Fuji.
Thanks for having me.
That was Cesar Gabriel there, third place finisher in the GTP AMS, and I think that is everyone that we had a chat with, Nathan. But yeah, that was of course good fun. I will once again give a shout out to RACEDATA AI, of course. Once again, thanks to them for sponsoring this broadcast. And of course, do make sure to check out the link in the description below to check out RACEDATA AI, which of course is a telemetry tool which is helping iRacers and ACC drivers as well get faster on those simulators. And yeah, if you are looking for sort of any improvements when it comes to your driving and you're maybe a little bit stuck as to exactly where to find time, RACEDATA AI is a fantastic way in order to find those missing tenths. Yeah, Nathan, that was a very fun race. I hope you enjoyed your time here in the RACEDATA AI Apex Racing League British Championship.
I certainly did. It was great to be here. A very interesting race. Around the track, like I said to Sam before, never driven around, never commentated over. So it was, yeah, going into this a little bit blind, but certainly enjoyed it towards the end, of course. Sam, a pleasure to have you in the commentary box. Of course, doing the production as well. You've been busy today. So, of course, a great job by yourself. And, of course, a big thanks to everybody in the chat here on Apex Racing TV. Of course, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified when we go live. Lots of streams coming up over the next week. But yeah, that's all from us here on Apex Racing TV. Have a good night and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.